a lecturer in the Department of International Relations at Zakaria University in Multan, Pakistan. She has been teaching there for over 7 years now. Professor Khattak is interested in gender and IR, peace and conflict studies, parliamentary studies, and climate studies. Her research focuses on feminist foreign policy, gender in politics, and the role of gender in climate change. She has also published widely on women political participation in South Asia and is currently a doctoral student at Qaid Al-Azam University in Islamabad. Muna Kayal has an impressive publication record, and we really look forward to her insightful analysis on substantive representation of women in Pakistan, challenges and prospects. Before I give the floor to Dr. Muna, we are delighted to give you a brief summary of who we are and what is the purpose of our RC07. So enjoy the video. Thank you. Thank you so much, Uditi, for the great job. Thank you. I'm going to give the floor to Dr. Muna, and then after her talk, would be happy to hear from the audience if you have any additions, suggestions, or questions to add. The floor is yours, Dr. Muna. The sound?
Yes. And hello, everyone. Delighted to be here. And this is a very huge opportunity for me to share my work with an audience who actually is interested in gender and politics in South Asia. Because most of the time when I talk about gender and politics in South, and especially in Pakistan, people are not interested in what women are going through in Pakistan, because even in my country, people think that there are bigger problems to be addressed rather than talking about women. And whenever I bring up the subject of gender and politics, most of the times the thing I hear is that, well, why don't we look at the important things first, and then we'll talk about women and gender and politics. So this is an opportunity for me to share what we actually feel about women and politics and why women's descriptive representation have not translated into women's substantive representation. So may I share my PPT now?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Fine. So the topic I've chosen today is substantive representation of women in Pakistan and the challenges and prospects faced by women in the parliament. So what my study is going to discuss is what substantive representation of women is politics, what do scholars or writers mean by substantive representation of women, and how women in politics is now a subfield of political science, and more scholarship is being added to this literature. We are in a world where representation of women in politics is increasing every day, and so is the number of women in political science also increasing. It's very important to note the impact of these women in the parliament as well as in political science, that what are women in political science doing to study politics when we are living in a world where we see so many women heading countries and governments and parliaments. So how is this impacting our lives? How is this impacting our foreign policy? How is this impacting our international politics? So what this paper does is it discusses the nexus of women descriptive representation and substantive representation vis-a-vis the concept of critical mass. And it tries to analyze that whether the growing literature in women in politics has any correlation with the descriptive representation of women in parliament and also in the faculties of political science. So how I am viewing my research or how I am viewing my discussion, I am viewing it through a feminist institutionalist lens. Feminist institutionalism is a pretty new concept when we compare it to other theories in political science. And what feminist institutionalism basically says is that we shouldn't only look at the formal rules, actors, conventions that impact women in politics. We must also look at the informal rules and conventions and actors that impact women. For example, in Pakistan, there is a gender quota, and the gender quota says that 17% of seats in the parliament must be given to women. This formal rule have increased the number of women in the parliament, but the informal rules, such as the male dominance in political parties and patriarchy in our country, and also religious fundamentalism, is not giving these women in power some voice. So you can say that women in power in Pakistan are basically powerless because they cannot stand for themselves. How I have reached these findings is relying on secondary and primary data, and I have conducted 40 semi-structured interviews, not only with MPAs and MNAs, but also with women who belong to political dynasties and who did not belong to political dynasties, who contested elections and couldn't win and ended up as runner-up. And I also interviewed gender experts for this study so that I could have a better view of this. So the first part of this is going to be the conceptualization of the terms descriptive and substantive representation. Most of the time, people don't know what is the difference between descriptive representation and substantive representation. In easy words, if we could say it that in layman term, descriptive representation is the number of women. And substantive representation is whether the women in parliament are acting for women. Are they standing up for women concerns? Are they actually doing something that is including gender in politics? Are they impacting policy making in the country? And in conclusion or in summary, you can say, are the women in parliament mainstreaming gender equality in a country like Pakistan that ranks in the lowest 3 countries when it comes to gender equality indexes? So I wanted to study that whether the number of women in parliament is important or whether women standing up for themselves is important. Mona Lina Crook is a very famous scholar, and she introduced a term called critical mass. We all know that the International Convention CEDAW, that is the Convention for Elimination of All Sorts of Discrimination Against Women, it says that all bodies must have 33% women when it comes to decision making, when it comes to peace and conflict, or any such organization. Mona Lina Crook believes that we do not need 33% or any round off number like 30% or 50%. What we need is a critical mass of women that can be 10%, that can be 15%, that can be 20%, who can actually stand for other women, who have a voice, who have power, who are not dependent on male patronage or male-dominated political parties to talk about women concerns. So the concept of critical mass is that instead of gender quotas, we need to empower women so that the number of women shouldn't matter. What they do should matter. In other words, we can also say that critical mass is a concept that views gender in parliament in terms of quality, not in terms of quantity. This is a symbolic representation of different forms of formalistic representations in the parliament. This was actually first presented by Hannah Pitkins in 1967 in one of her most seminal article, The Concept of Representation. She believes that there are four sorts of representation. One is formalistic representation, the electoral system or the parliament or whatever decision-making body the person is in. The candidate is only chosen based on his or her visibility. So if the country has a first past the post system, or if the country has a PR system, this kind of formalistic representation actually does not add to the substantive work of that particular group, particular marginalized group, which includes women also, obviously. Then we have descriptive representation. That is when in a particular decision-making institution, we look at it in terms of demographics, like the number of people, how many LGBTQ people are there, how many disabled people are there, how many people from minorities are there, things like that. Then there is substantive representation. That is when the people are actually elected, the people have power in their hands, the people can have a voice, their voice is actually heard. This is how they can sponsor and co-sponsor different legislations that can actually add to the group they are representing. Lastly, symbolic representation is the impact of these certain groups, certain marginalized groups, on the people that they are representing in the parliament or any decision-making body for that matter. So how different are descriptive and substantive representation? Descriptive and substantive representation in simple words is quality versus quantity. Description is quantity and substantive representation is quality. Critical mass is not a certain number, but a group of women, which can be any number of women who actually have power and authority to do something. The question arises is that how significant is it? Well, if we even have 66% of women, like we have 66% of women in Rwanda, but if the formal rules are supporting them and the informal rules are intersecting with the formal rules and not letting these women act in favor of other women or children or health or anything for that matter, then the numbers of the women is irrelevant. Even if you get 60% of women, we have 50% of women in the UAE parliament, but they cannot act substantively because of the informal rules. It is important for women to have authority and power. Numbers are less important. So what informal rules are actually hurting women in the parliament in Pakistan? First of all, the indirect mode of election. In Pakistan, women are selected, not elected. This selected is based on party lists. Political parties act as gatekeepers. They nominate women. They give a certain list to the Election Commission of Pakistan. The Election Commission of Pakistan, they select women according to the winning ratio of the party. Let's say that a certain political party has 30% of winning seats. So out of 30%, 10% of they will be given 10% gender-related seat. So if you have 30 male members, you can have 10 female members as a quota seats or reserve seats. In Pakistan, they are known as reserve seats and quota seats. So these women are totally dependent on the political parties, and Pakistani political parties are headed by men. All the hierarchical structure of Pakistani political party is male dominated. And these women actually cannot do anything when it comes to legislation, when it comes to oversight or any other responsibility that a certain member of parliament has. Election Commission of Pakistan, that is also known as ECP, they passed a rule in 2017 that mandates 5% tickets to women only. Election Commission of Pakistan was of the opinion that this will pave a way for women to get into the parliament through general elections, through direct method, and they will have some power, some authority. Because reserve seat quota women in the parliament in Pakistan, there are 60 seats. They have no funding. They have no constituency. They are not, they have no criteria. The political parties and election commission both have no criteria for the selection of these women. The sole criteria for a reserve seat in parliament in Pakistan is to be a woman. I have no idea how many of you know this, but there have been instances in Parliament of Pakistan where 45 out of 60 women in the parliament were not even primarily educated. So this is why ECP thought that if they mainstream women and give 5% of the tickets or party tickets to women, they contest in general elections, they will have a constituency, they will have public support because Pakistan has a first part support system. This way women will be mainstreamed. Unfortunately, what happened when I interviewed certain women was that women were given constituency tickets in such constituency that they were not even related to. For example, I talked to a woman in Peshawar who contested her 2023 elections recently. She was given a ticket, general election ticket by PMLN to contest an election in Kohistan. She did not know the Kohistani language. She had no idea about the Kohistani culture. She had never been to Kohistan. Yet she was given a ticket over there, and obviously she couldn't win the elections. And unfortunately, when I talked to other women, this was not a single case. This was not an exception. There were so many other women who belonged to Punjab and they were given a constituency in, like, if you are in central Punjab, you're given a constituency in southern Punjab where people don't even know you. You've got no ground support. You don't even know the culture. You don't know how you get to do your election rallies. And these women were totally clueless about their constituency. So all these political parties did was they just fulfilled the criteria that, yes, we have given 5% tickets to women. And this is actually what happened behind the scenes. Informal rules that affect women in the parliament are political dynasties. Most of the women in the parliament belong to political dynasties. My research suggests that right now, according to the 2023 elections, 56% of all political party members belong to political dynasties, and 80% of the gender quota seat women belong to political dynasties. And as these women come from political parties, their husbands, uncles, brothers, or fathers, they belong to a selective political family. That political family dominates the political party, and that is how they get into parliament. This male patronage is what is affecting their performance in the parliament. A huge hurdle for women in the parliament is clientelism. Clientelism is that most of these political people, when they go for a rally for their general elections, they need a lot of money. And that money is mostly supported by businessmen, unfortunately, even sometimes by people who are involved in criminal activities. I was personally very surprised to know that. And women are not associated with any of these groups, so they don't know how to garner support, how to garner money for their election rallies. And because they are not associated with these people, so people think that if we vote a woman and a woman comes into office, if she's in power, she doesn't know the ground realities, how can she help us? So because of clientelism, many of women are not elected in Pakistan. Once a woman comes into power, she is assigned stereotypical portfolios that are considered gender appropriate. Like women will be assigned Ministry of Health or Ministry of Population or Ministry of Women Affairs, Environment, things like that. Unfortunately, this is also a global phenomena that I came to know through my research, that women are not given that traditional male portfolios. For example, defense ministers, foreign ministers, or finance ministers. Women are not given such portfolios. Pakistan has only one foreign minister, one female foreign minister since all its 75-year history. Pakistan never had a female defense minister. Pakistan never had a female finance minister. Once it so happened that one woman, Shari Rahman, in 2018 held 5 portfolios at a time. She had 5 portfolios, and all of them were women and children and population and environment and things like that. This tokenism, women being treated just like a quota thing or a token or a symbol, is what is hurting substantive representation of women in Pakistan. Now, we all know that there are 3 components used to measure the performance of legislators in a parliament. They are representation, oversight, and attendance. In the recent 2018 to 2023 legislature, every female parliamentarian attended 66% of the assembly sittings, whereas men attended 53%. So you can see that women are performing better when it comes to attendance. They also accounted for 35% of the parliamentary agenda, out of which 3% was in collaboration with men. So they are also trying to do something, despite all these discrepancies. This is a table that I drew out through the Parliament Library in Pakistan, and the librarian was very kind to me. He helped me out chalking this table out. So you can see that in 2018 to 2023 Parliament, women called 14 out of 48 call attention to notes, which is 29% of the total parliamentary performance. Similarly, when it comes to private members, women tabled 60 out of 206 of them. When it comes to private member resolutions, women tabled 12 out of 42. When it comes to the motion for discussion of public interest issues, women raised 19 public interest issues out of 73. When it comes to proposals for amendments in the rules of procedure in their respective houses, only 2 out of 12 women did that. And women asked 730 out of 2,159 questions in the parliament, which is 35% of the total parliamentary questions. Now, I actually drew this table to show the informal attitude of parliamentarians, male parliamentarians towards women. These are the issues that remained unaddressed. You can see when it comes to call attention to notice, 23 male MPs call attention to notice were unaddressed, whereas 50 call attention to notice by women were unaddressed. What does that mean? That 38% of call attention to notices by women were unaddressed. When it came to private member bills, 20% of women private member bills were unaddressed. When it comes to motions for public interest discussion, none of them was addressed. None of them. They did not address one single public interest discussion by women. When it comes to private member resolutions, none of them was addressed. Questions, none of them answered. Amendments to rules, again, unaddressed. So most of the time when I show this table to people, the first question or the first excuse that they give me is that maybe these issues are not that important. Well, the female parliamentarian addressed issues such as law and order in the state, inflation, energy crisis and prices, pricing, institutional reforms, labor rights, health and maternity care, women rights, and particularly constitutional amendments concerning women and child rights. And these were unaddressed. So, formal and informal gender norms, actors, and conventions, they impact women political participation in Pakistan. And only institutional reforms can positively impact women political participation and transform masculinistic politics in Pakistan. Institutional reforms such as, first of all, there should be a certain criteria for the gender quota seats. Secondly, now that ECP have given this 5% mandatory tickets, there must be some regulation. Thirdly, if let's say they cannot have any other criteria, the women who are contesting elections, why not choose women who get the most votes out of these 5% women and give them those seats instead of choosing any random woman for the parliamentary seat? This will at least give us women who are interested in politics, who went on ground, who conducted a rally, who garnered public support, who faced all this political process, and who actually learned something through this. In that scenario, we will have some women who can actually address what women and girls are going through when it comes to gender and politics in Pakistan. Unless we do not have these institutional reforms, this masculinistic and male-dominated politics in Pakistan is going to, it will just, the cycle will never be broken. And we will live in this perpetual cycle of masculinistic politics in Pakistan. So that was it from my side. I would love to hear discussions, questions, or anything that anyone wants to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muna, for this insightful and thorough presentation on time. We would love now, without further ado, I'm going to open the floor to, our great audience. If you have any, additions, questions to Dr. Muna, I'm sure you should have, because this is an important topic, especially now with what is happening now in the region. Pakistan and, the vicinity. So it's very, very important that we actually discuss this further. So the floor is open to the audience.
May I?
Yes, Swarna, please.
I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation, Mona, because I think so much of, as you were talking, I'm saying, yes, 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 because there's so much commonality, so many of the same barricades, challenges on both sides. I don't have a question, but I just want to, particularly because this will go on YouTube, I want to say we really need more genuinely comparative projects, whether they are anthologies with country chapters or the kind of work that RCSS was supporting, where scholars would do cross-national comparisons, because I think that there is something to be gained by bringing them together as a prelude to advocacy even. Because so much of this is really common.
Yeah, I mostly, when somebody says that to me from South Asia, I tell them that if South Asian women make a Venn diagram of what women in politics go through, the common area of the Venn diagram would be larger than the other circles.
Yes. Yes.
Because we share so many, unfortunately, we share so many things and shortcomings that women all over South Asia are facing almost similar situation. And it's only through the feminist solidarity or the female solidarity that these issues can be addressed. Women have to be on a single page to address these issues.
Yeah.
Hi, I had a question.
Yes, please.
I can't find the hand. Muna, thank you so much for your presentation. I do research on women and politics in Somalia, and it's at various times that you're talking about Somalia, the selection of women, sometimes women who are not qualified, who are not even literate. So you said that a lot of the time these women are coming from families that are involved in politics, and that's how they're being selected?
Yes, because there is no criteria for selection of women in Pakistan. So the political parties in Pakistan are mostly political delicities. And they try to bring their own women to the parliament, because even if these women are on gender seats or on reserve seats, when it comes to passing a bill, when it comes to the legislation, their hand still counts. So to make that hand count, they would want people who they can control, or they would want people who would agree with them.
Okay. So, but you said that these women are often illiterate, they're not educated?
Not often, But
Okay.
yes, most often they are, especially in KPK and Balochistan. I was very surprised to see that 80% of the women were not even primary educated.
Okay. Wow. Okay. And did you look at issues relating to violence against women MPs?
No,
How
I
they're
have
treated?
violence against or political violence against women. I have not delved into that aspect.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. This was really eye-opening. And then just a comment to Swarna. I co-edited a book with two other researchers on women and peace building in Africa, where we look at women and peace building, women's role in peace building and also in political participation. And we compared 5 African countries, including Algeria, Nigeria, Somalia, Sudan, and South Sudan. So there are some, but I can see, like, I don't know much about Asia. I'm an Africanist. But this talk by Muna is just like the similarities are just, yeah, stark.
Would you put a citation for your book in the chat so we can all look it up?
Okay, sure, I can do that. Thank you.
I have a question. It's a very small question, and thank you so much for the presentation.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, sure. I wanted to know how men react to the presence of women in parliament. Because sometimes in a country like mine here in Malawi, what happens is men blame women for failing to participate in politics. So it's like it's their fault. And yet the context that they're working with is against the women. So I don't know if in your maybe key informant interviews you looked at this question of how the women are welcomed in the political space. That's my question.
Well, I have looked into how women are welcomed into the political space. What I found out was that if a woman belongs to a very strong political dynasty, for example, if she's a woman like Benazir Bhutto, who was the first and the only elected prime minister in Pakistan, then men are very welcoming. They will behave as if they are very happy to see a woman there, except the opposition, of course. And when it comes to women who belong to smaller political densities, or let's say less impactful families, then the attitude of men towards women is not very welcoming. Most of the time, most of the parliamentarians, they told me that once we are in the parliament, what we hear is that you are here as a favor. We've done a favor to you by giving you a political seat, and all you have to do is sit down, look pretty, and be silent. And you only have to speak when we ask you to speak. There is nothing else that you can do. You're not here on your own merit. And even when women ask for some project, let's say, they believe that there is something that about women that should be addressed. Like one woman told me, she was from KPK, that in her area, women go to great lengths to get water. Water shortage is a huge issue over there. So she talked in the parliament about how women go through great lengths and how many girls are out of school just because they have to fetch water. So if we can have a water filtration plant over there, it will increase girls' registration in schools. And she said that the men dismissed me and they said that now fetching water is also a task. Is this what are we are going to discuss in the parliament? This is such a small issue. So women are not heard, women are not welcomed. And most of the time their issues are dismissed as if they are not important, they are insignificant.
I do have a question now. If there's no other hand raised, I can't tell. May I?
Sure, go ahead, Swarna, please.
You said you hadn't really looked at the question of political violence, but as I'm listening and I'm thinking about it, political violence is one of the big, I mean, there is the misogyny of the system itself, but it's one of the big external deterrents. Now, if you take young Uditi here, who's our RC07 intern, while I'm talking to her about career options, I could say to her, join politics. But in her head, there will be 75 reasons not to, and 70 of them will have to do with violence. So I think that, and then there is the second layer also of the turmoil that is part of the everyday public sphere in our societies. You know, it's not just the things that happen to you because you're a woman, but also the things that can happen to you anyway. So I think that those of us that look at representation and look at other factors really do have to pay attention to violence of different sorts when we do our research. I think that that's something you might want to layer in on the next iteration of the project that you're working on. It's very hard to, from the moment we wake up to the time we go to bed and finally fall asleep, violence is something we factor into every choice, right? What we wear, which bus we take, you know, which college we go to, everything. So, and definitely which party, is it misogynistic, is it not? So, just a thought.
When I was looking into gender and politics in Pakistan, I actually thought that I should look into political violence as well, or violence against women in politics as well. But when I started doing the literature review, I was so overwhelmed by the literature. Violence is ubiquitous, it's everywhere. And it is so comprehensive and it is layered. And when I was reviewing literature about it, I thought that this can be a separate thesis because there is violence is layered in so many ways that when we start unlayering it, it's like a seven-headed hydra. You kill one head, another head appears. You kill that one, another one appears. So that's why I did not get into violence against politics for this project, of course. But it is at the back of my head, and I would really like to explore it more. And I know it's going to take a lot of time, energy, and effort to study violence against women in politics or political violence against women.
I have a question, Dr. Muna. Do you think that there is a glimpse of hope when it comes to the future of women in politics, or, you know, so that they can actually have a place in the society or in politics in Pakistan? Do you think that with what is happening, things can change from your own perspective, and you from also as a woman who actually lived with them and know what's happening? Is there a glimpse of hope?
Yes, I do see a glimpse of hope actually. In 2017, when ECP made it mandatory that 5% tickets must go to women, this was actually a demand by the Women Action Forum of Pakistan. And they demanded 30% of the seats for women. And they said that get rid of reserve seats and let women come to mainstream politics. Or you should at least look at the criteria. So there are multiple debates going on right now when it comes to gender and politics in Pakistan. And I am looking at different literature, like I'm looking at books, I'm looking at conferences, and I see that people are actually genuinely interested in making politics a place where women can actually do something. Because even with this 17% seats, which is close to nothing in the parliament, women have actually made huge strides when it comes to legislation in Pakistan. I don't know how many people know that since 2008 till now, women have passed 85 gender-based legislation in Pakistan. Most of these legislations were women rights-based. For example, we did not have an anti-rape law. We did not have an anti-ACID law. We did not have an workplace harassment law. We did not have a domestic violence law. We did not have verbal abuse law, and there were so many things that in Pakistan, there was no digital harassment law, there was no, like there are so many things that we used to think that, oh, maybe we have a law about it, but we did not. Like when in 2004, when there was a discussion about anti-rape laws in Pakistan, I came to know back then that we don't have an anti-rape law in Pakistan. I had no idea that DNA is not accepted as a proof when it comes to rape in Pakistan. And that was truly shocking for me, that what is going on? Even when I read about the debates about anti-rape law in Pakistan, I came across a discussion, I think on TV or I don't know, in the newspaper, that said that even fingerprints are not accepted as proofs when it comes to rape against women in Pakistan. And I was dumbfounded when I came to know about it. Same goes for acid attack law, that in Pakistan, if you throw a teacup at somebody or you throw acid at somebody, the punishment is the same thing because it is a hot substance and that's it. Nobody thinks about what the victim is going through. Nobody thinks about the victim's family. Nobody thinks about anything. So women actually did a lot when it comes to women's rights in Pakistan. Although most of these cases, when I looked at them closely, they were because of two things. One, because some elite case was internationalized and the international pressure was so huge that the parliament had to give in to the law. Otherwise, the bill would be discussed and discussed and discussed with no consequence. Or secondly, I noticed that if in an international convention like SEDA or let's say the Beijing Platform for Action or Women, Peace and Security, if any such international convention and Pakistan had, let's say, ratified that treaty, or Pakistan had signed that convention, then they would work on the bill of that, like for a symbolic gesture, because most of these laws still lack implementation. Implementation mechanism of these laws is another huge problem in Pakistan. And even because of these small changes, huge changes, actually not small changes, but even because of these laws, people are starting to think that maybe women understand women concerns better because they've got the lived experience. Most recently, when there was this SEDA revision report or something like that, I'm sorry, I forgot the exact word for that. Every year, SEDA has a report about gender discrimination in Pakistan. And the team Pakistan sent was of 26 people. All of them were men. So the first question they asked them was, where are the women? If you are sending a gender discrimination team to an United Nations to address gender-related concerns, where are your women? And the chairman of the party said that we know everything about women. So that is what happens in Pakistan mostly, that when it comes to women concerns, men think that they know everything about it. But now, because we have women in parliament who actually are very strong women, we have women like Sheri Rahman, we have women like Sharmila Faruqi, who recently, just day before yesterday, passed the child marriage bill in the parliament that has raised the age for females to 18 for marriage. These women have made some difference, because of which people have at least started to think that we need women in the parliament. And I believe that in the future, it is going to make many positive impacts on other people as well. Women in politics in Pakistan is mostly just like Dr. Farida Shaheed in one of her books says, it is one step forward, two steps back. But most of the time, it is like that. It is one step forward, two steps back. Now I'm saying that no, it's one step forward. The two-step back is now not the case anymore. I have given, I think, a really long answer for this.
Thank you. Thank you. Because this is, I think this is very, very important. Nowadays, you know, especially with the social media people, I mean, even the countries who actually don't care about the women representation. They care more about what's, what is diffused in social media and what is caught by, the international community. So I think that now there is a call more about, having that women representativity, especially in, in the South country. Thank you so much for your insight, Dr. Muna. Any other, intervention or questions or inputs to this very interesting topic? Would
I
love
have
to hear.
a question. Yeah. Right. This is more towards the point of dynasty politics. I was just wondering, what about women who come from influential political families? Because it must be easier for them to perhaps carve their way into the parliamentary framework than it would be for an ordinary woman from the masses. And I was just wondering if there's a pool or even the possibility of a pool of critical actors within this segment of women that are coming from political families instead of those that are just given tickets by the parties on their whim. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So when we look at the history of women in parliament in Pakistan, I personally get very surprised to see that when the first Constituent Assembly of Pakistan was formed in 1947, we had two women only in the parliament. One of them was Begum Jahan Shahnawaz, and the other was Begum Shaista Ikramullah. Both of these women were highly educated. Begum Shaista Ikramullah is actually the first South Asian Muslim woman to have a PhD from Oxford. And Begum Shaista Ikramullah, she belongs to a very highly educated Bengali family. And Begum Jahan Shahnawaz belonged to a feminist activist father. Her father was the person who worked, Sir Muhammad Shafi worked for Muslim girl education. So we had two women in the parliament, and these two women, when I was going in the parliamentary library, when I was going through the debates, I was so surprised that they raised such critical points that even today, when I listen to parliamentary debates, women do not raise these points. Why? Because these women were educated and they belonged to influential families and they were given a voice. Then there came a time in the second Constituent Assembly of Pakistan, we had no women at all. Maybe the two women, they disturbed the men so much that they thought that, no, we don't need any more women. These two were enough. So they did not include any more women in the second Constituent Assembly. In the third Constituent Assembly, we had only 6 women, and out of these 6 women, nobody did anything. Then this 6 figure, it came like it was repeated again and again and again till 1973 when we had our first elected parliament. And in that, we had again just 10 women, all of them on gender quota seats. And now in this parliament also, there were some very influential women like Sayyida Abida Hussain, who actually worked for women. In the 90s, we had a woman on the top like Benazir Bhutto, and she did few things like introducing employment quotas for women, introducing women banks, giving women the right to open a bank account without male permission, giving women the right to own property without a male permission. And she also made very important steps for women to have to own their own inheritance, and she made it illegal that no woman can give their can forgive their inheritance. Like women used to say that we don't want our inheritance, we want to give it to our brother. So she made that illegal that every woman must have her inheritance. So she made some very positive things. Later on in the 90s, because the 1973 constitution says that we will have quota only for 10 years. After 10 years, the quota will be deferred and then we will reconsider it. That reconsideration went on for 15 long years and there was no quota for women. All the 90s, there was no quota for women in the parliament. And then the quota came in 2002. So since 2002 till now, when I look at women in the parliament, from the dynastic families, women who are educated, like Sherry Rehman, like Sharmila Faruqi, like Tehmina Doltana, these women have actually helped with the anti-rape law, with honor killing law. When it comes to honor killing law, Nafisa Shah, the daughter of Qaim Ali Shah, she also belongs to a political dynasty. She is the person who actually initiated and tabled this bill, and she relentlessly worked for this honor killing bill for 11 long years. And at last, due to the international community's pressure, when the Kandil Baloch case, as Yasmin just said, when the social media nowadays is very effective. When the Kandil Baloch case went viral and everybody started talking about honor killing in Pakistan, and so many people got to know that, okay, every year 5,000 women are killed in the name of honor in Pakistan, which is the third largest number of women killed all around the world in the name of honor killing. That is when the parliament passed the honor killing bill. So these women, they do work for women concerns, but they are unheard. Their voices are not that influential. The ones who do have influential voices, they do something. They try to initiate the talk. And some of their bills, fortunately, they are passed. Like we have an honor killing bill now in Pakistan. So it is also a law now, anti-honor killing law. And that law also had a loophole that, for example, if a murderer kills one of his relatives in the name of honor, the family can forgive him and that person will face no punishment. So last year, this loophole was also repealed because Kandil Baloch, because of whom the law was passed, her parents forgave her brother for honor killing their daughter. So when this happened, again, social media, they made it a trend that why is this happening? Oh, what is this loophole? And now it is repealed. So to answer your question, actually, what I'm trying to say is that off and on, we have seen influential women from these political dynasties who do not have actually influential men in their family. When they reach the top, when they are in their 50s, in their 60s, when they are at the, you can say, the head of their families, then they are heard in the family, in the political party, and in the parliament as well. But when they are young, when they are, you can say, in their 20s or 30s, nobody listens to them, even if they have a very valid point. I know this is ageism, but mostly I have seen that the influential voices in parliament are of women who are above 40. Nafisa Shah was under 40. She was early 30s when she started this anti-honor killing bill. And there is a recorded statement of a Baloch MNA in Pakistani National Parliament when this debate about honor killing was going on, that honor killing bill will be passed over my dead body. So this was the reaction of men towards her bill, which was even not anti-religion. Still, men were against it. So women try, influential women do try, they initiate bills that are in favor of women, that are for women concerns. They want women to be mainstream. They want gender mainstreaming. But unfortunately, to become an influential voice in the parliament, it takes a very long route. Now I have seen women who are very educated, like educated from Harvard, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, the foreign minister of Pakistan, twice the foreign minister of Pakistan, his daughter, Meherbano Qureshi, she refused a gender seat and she said that she will contest elections. And she contested election against two dynastic politicians in Multan, which is a very small city. I belong to Multan. And Yusuf Raza Gilani, who was the ex-prime minister of Pakistan, his son was contesting the election. And another very influential political dynasty, they were also, his son was also contesting the election. Shah Mahmood's daughter was contesting the election. Although she did not win, but in a place like Multan, if this is happening, then it means that influential women are coming into politics, and maybe in future we will see some very strong women in Pakistani parliament.
I think that perfectly sums up today's talk, challenges and prospects. So this is a wonderful prospect to have if more and more women are coming up. Thank you. Thank you for answering the question.
You're welcome.
Very, very interesting. Just maybe one of the last questions, Mona, because you remind me of, what is happening back in North Africa. We have the similar issues because we're considered as South as well. So, are there any male politicians who endorse women representativity in Pakistan, who defend this case? Or is it that much patriarchal, though I don't like much this word, but can you give us a little bit insight about that?
Unfortunately, when it comes to the older senior politicians, I wouldn't say older, senior politicians, Most of them are not in favor of women representativeness in the parliament or women inclusion in the parliament. But when I look at the younger politicians like Bilawal Bhutto, or when I look at his age group in the parliament, these people are very keen on gender inclusion in politics. And like wherever Bilawal Bhutto goes, he takes his sister Asifa Bhutto with him, or even most of the times he lets his sister Asifa Bhutto take the lead. And he gives statement like, we need more women in politics, and he always says that my mother was the first woman to be elected as a prime minister in Pakistan, and I want more women to follow my mother's footsteps. So there are some politicians, although pretty rare, who want women in the parliament. Otherwise, even in academia, political scientists, professors, male professors, they also don't like women in politics. And whenever we talk about having more women in politics, I have not seen any positive encouragement unfortunately, from male professors even. Then politicians are not very literate in Pakistan, so I wouldn't blame them a lot. Because if educated men are having this sort of an attitude, so obviously people who are not educated, they would have a different attitude.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? Laden? Yes, please.
Yes, I have. So as you were talking about, Muna, as you're talking about the anti-rape and the anti-harassment bill and all of that, I was wondering, so what's happening with the hudud laws then in
They have been
Pakistan?
repealed. Hudud law were repealed in 2004.
Okay, that's good to know. And then the other question is, with the women MPs that you talk to, do they have like formal structures where they work together to
Yes,
support
we have
each
a women caucus in the parliament where women join irrespective of their political parties, and they only talk about women concerns.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laden, for your great questions, and also Yuti and Swarna and everyone else who attended. Great thank you to you, Dr. Muna, for this very, very insightful, thoughtful, thorough presentation. And thank you for ladies as know about what is happening. And it's a reminder of we should give women representativeness in the global south, because this is very, very important. Thank you so much for your great, great presentation. On this, I'm going to conclude this great seminar, and I would like to, invite also whoever is, interested to submit the pitch. Please submit your pitches, or if you want to present in one other webinars, whether on issues of gender inequality, political regimes, the interplay of micro political processes, women representation, as Dr. Muna did today, wonderfully did today, decision making, and the allocation of resources. Please, please, please send your proposal to us. We would love to have you as speakers in our future RC07 webinars. Thank you so much, and see you in our next monthly RC07 webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.